we're going to take a look at the forecasts themselves and see about the aspect of sharing information and some of the incentives along the line. A lot of times you have an assembled to order strategy where the contract manufacturers, they have the capacity, but you want to make sure they have a lot of lead time because they don't only just work for you, they're looking in the aspect of trying to make certain that they're 100% at capacity and that they don't have any layoffs or they don't have people not working. They want to make certain everybody has a job and everybody's working. And if you're not the only customer, they're going to sit down and have to balance their own aspect of, because they're in multiple supply chain as to what is going on in the process. A lot of times, we talked previously about the aspect of supply chain contracts, and here's a couple. We talked about the capacity reservation. Sometimes the supplier gives you really a menu specifying different levels they're willing to build and the corresponding price for each one. You'll have that aspect of it, advanced purchase contracts. A lot of times, especially because normally we talked before about the retailer, how 3 months out of the year, they actually sell 40% of the product. Well, that being said, you have to back everything up. If you have a 2 month delay between manufacture and actual packaging, and then another 2 weeks for delivery, you might be 10 weeks before you can deliver things. And that means you're not going to be shipping them until you finish everything in the process, but you're manufacturing them. You might be manufacturing for something to sell in November. You might be manufacturing that product in April, May, or March in the process. It just depends where you're at. So these contracts will help give you some information sharing and the incentives. A lot of it's the effective forecast. You have a lot of factors to take into account. The more accurate your prediction can be, the better off your supply chain and the more intact it's going to be for everybody along the line and reduce that overall variability and helps improve the forecast. With any supply chain, there's a series of systems, different types of manufacturing, storage, transportation, retail. They all are trade-offs in the process as to how they're connected, as to who will win and who will lose in the process. And sometimes there is give and take. You want everybody to walk away winner. The more they walk away from the winner, the more they agree upon the contents of the forecast and everybody singing from the same book. Regardless of ownership, the different systems, they need coordination to operate effectively. You really want to locally optimize and globally optimize, but who's going to make that decision and how will the savings between that optimization be shared? Because typically everybody wants to make money in the process. If you have one person trying to do their best to keep inventory off their shelves, except for the final retail product, you might have a problem because the retailer is not going to want to stock anything in their room. They want you to stock it for them, except for the fact that sometimes if you're going to have lead time where you're dropping stuff off once a week, okay, that may not happen. They may have to absorb some of that inventory stock to make certain the retail shelf itself is stocked well. There's more than one way to meet customer demand. And really, you need to pay attention to how the retail shelf is stocked. That's a big deal. And how is the retailer, how is their actual stock room looking? And can you sit down there and maximize the amount of stock that goes from their warehouse or their actual store shelving to the retail right there in front of the customer themselves? So pay attention to what's in stock. The ability to fill the customer's orders that can't be stocked, that's a big thing. So you want to benefit that lead time reduction. You want to reduce the bullwhip. You want to reduce that variability. You want accurate forecast and really a reduction in the finished goods inventory levels because that is where your most money is tied up. The raw goods, by the time you're done, you need to make certain you're protected there in the manufacturing aspect. But as it moves up the supply chain, it becomes more expensive as you process it until finally they're processed, they're packaged, they're ready to go. That's expensive inventory. Lead time reduction, the more you can reduce that, the importance cannot be overstated in the process. A lot of times, firms are looking for suppliers that have shorter lead times. You may be able to crank something out at a relatively good price, but if you're too small to sit down and deliver it quickly, they may find somebody else that can do the same work. Point of sale data, you really want to sit down and have that, then that can help you reduce that lead time. Sequential planning, each stage optimizes its profit, and that really helps on the decisions along the whole chain. And if you're looking at global optimization, if you're buying something from a foreign country, if you're buying something from an Asian market, you have to take into all kinds of account as how you're going to get it. If it's a crisis, is it still a ship or is it a plane that you need to have it over there? And if it's a plane, all of a sudden your price skyrockets for the actual delivery and actually getting it. So you have to pay attention to that. There's more planning, the bigger and the longer your supply chain is. Okay, the different stages, they have conflicting goals. Even with one stage, you have to make different trade-offs. Okay, if it's a matter of shipping goods from this market to this market, what is the lead time? And if all of a sudden you have a glitch in the market, if all of a sudden you have to go around the Horn of Africa, okay, you're adding 9 to 10 days onto the shipping process. How is that going to impact everybody down the line? You may end up having empty shelves because of something that happened over here that you have no control over. So the more information you have, the better off you are. Raw material supplier, they want stable volume requirements. They want to be able to have the stuff coming in on a regular basis. They don't want to have a variability on the mix of the materials. They want to have flexible delivery times. They want to have large volumes because the large volumes can reduce their overall big picture costs. The manufacturers, they want very few changeovers. They want a stable demand. Everybody wants peace along the entire system. We need to sit down and have low transportation costs, minimal inventory, and pay attention to them. A lot of times, we're going to use assemble to order strategy. That's going to really help us an awful lot. And the supply chain contracts can help us reduce our uncertainty quite a bit. The goal, reduce the lead time, reduce the inventory, make certain your raw materials are protected because that's probably the most vulnerable aspect of it. If there's no raw materials at all by the manufacturer, then you're going to be in trouble down the line and may not even know it for 2 months until it's actually done. Minimize your safety stock, minimize your inventory. That's always good, but you still want to make certain the goods are there to make certain they're on the shelf for that customer to pick up and purchase whenever they want to, because at the end, that's who we're serving. Take care.